I still remember the ringtone that afternoon. It was soft, like every other sound in my quiet apartment. The hum of the fan, the ticking of the clock. But that call changed everything. I hadn't spoken to my mother in years. Not a word. Not even on birthdays. When I saw her name flash across the screen, my first thought wasn't love. It wasn't concern. It was anger. My finger hovered over the decline button. I told myself, she doesn't deserve my voice. But something, maybe the tremble in my own hand, stopped me, and I answered. The voice on the other end wasn't the strong, sharp woman I remembered. It was weak, breathless, almost like she'd been waiting for me to pick up. One last time. That was the moment everything began to change. Before continue, please subscribe. Our channel and like our video. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, in a house that always smelled like fresh laundry and cinnamon tea. My mother, Margaret, ran that house like a commander. Strict, practical, always in control. My father died when I was 8, so it was just her and me after that. She worked long hours as a school teacher. Every evening, I'd wait by the window, counting the minutes until she came home, but over time, that waiting changed. Because she didn't come home with hugs or stories. She came home tired, and often snapped at me for little things. A messy room, a burnt dinner, a forgotten chore. By my teenage years, I stopped seeing her as a mother. She became a wall, one I couldn't climb or understand. When I got good grades, she didn't say, "I'm proud of you." She'd just nod and say, "Good, keep it up." At 16, when I said I wanted to study art, she looked at me and said flatly, "Art doesn't pay bills. Emily, be sensible." I remember standing there, sketchbook in my hand, feeling like I'd just been erased. She wasn't cruel, but she was distant. Everything was about money, stability, reputation. And I, her only daughter, just wanted freedom, to make mistakes, to dream, to feel seen. So I left home at 19. I told her I was moving to the city to study business. But really, I just wanted to breathe without her voice echoing in my head. For the first few months, she called every week. I answered less and less. And then one day, I stopped altogether. Years passed like that. Messages went unread, birthdays came and went, and every time I thought about her, my chest tightened, not from guilt, but from the echo of all the words she never said. The real break came when I was 26. I had just gotten my first apartment in the city. A steady job. For the first time, I felt proud. Then one evening, a message came from a neighbor back home. "Your mother sold your father's house." I froze. That house, the one my father built with his own hands, was gone? I called her for the first time in years. She picked up on the second ring. "Yes," she said, like I was a stranger. "Mom, how could you sell the house?" I asked, my voice shaking. Her reply was cold. "It was mine to sell. You made it clear you don't live here anymore." It felt like she slammed a door right through my chest. That night, I cried like a child, not just for the house, but for everything it stood for. My father's laughter, our backyard, the place I thought I'd come back to someday. That was the night I decided I would never forgive her. Never. The silence that followed became its own kind of companion, a heavy one. It followed me everywhere. When I got engaged, I didn't tell her. When I got married, I sent her a photo, no caption. She didn't reply. I told myself I was fine, but every milestone felt like someone, was missing. When my daughter, Lila, was born, my mother sent a gift through a friend, a tiny baby blanket, hand-stitched with roses. I kept it in a drawer, unopened. "She doesn't deserve to be part of this," I told my husband. But sometimes, late at night, I'd take it out, run my fingers over the stitching. Her work was so neat, so full of care. Still, I couldn't let go of the bitterness. Money was tight back then. We were juggling bills, rent, diapers, and sometimes I thought, if she hadn't sold that house, maybe I'd have had some security. But I buried those thoughts under pride. Then came the letters. 3 envelopes, all from her, all unopened. I kept them in a drawer, under old documents. Each one made my heart twist, but I couldn't bring myself to read them. She made her choices, I told myself. So did I. Then came that phone call. It was late afternoon. Lila was at school. My husband was at work. I was alone. Folding laundry when the phone rang. I almost ignored it until I saw the name. Mom. Something in me froze. When I answered, the first thing I heard was breathing. Uneven, weak. Then her voice. Emily, it's me. For a second, I didn't recognize her. I don't have much time, she whispered. I just wanted to hear your voice once. My throat closed. What are you talking about? I asked. She coughed softly, then said words I'll never forget. I sold the house for your tuition. You never knew, did you? I went completely still. What? The school said you couldn't afford the city fees, she said, her voice fading. I wanted you to have a chance. I thought, maybe you'd hate me less if you succeeded. My heart pounded. All those years of anger, of distance. And the truth had been sitting silently inside 3 unopened letters. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. I tried, she said. But you wouldn't pick up, and then the line went quiet. The next morning, I pulled open the drawer and tore the envelopes open. The first letter was written in her neat handwriting. It began, My dearest Emily, I hope this finds you well. In the second paragraph, she explained the house sale, how she used the money to pay my college fees, how she moved into a small rented apartment near her school. She wrote, I wanted to see you fly, even if it meant clipping my own wings. The second letter was about my wedding photo. She had framed it beside my father's picture and prayed for me every night. The third was short. It said, Please don't let anger become the language between us. By the time I finished reading, I was crying so hard I couldn't breathe. I called the number she had used. A nurse answered. She's very weak, she said gently. You should come if you can. I packed a small bag and took the first bus home. When I reached the hospital, she was lying in a quiet room, the air thick with antiseptic and lilies. She looked so small. Her eyes fluttered open when she heard my voice. Emily? I took her hand, rough, cold, still familiar. I'm here, I said. She smiled faintly. You sound older. I wanted to say everything. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I love you. But the words just wouldn't come out. So I cried. She squeezed my hand and whispered, You did well, sweetheart. That's all I ever wanted. Those were her last words to me. When she passed later that night, I didn't scream. I didn't collapse. I just sat there, holding her hand, finally understanding her love. Quiet, invisible, but always there. After the funeral, I went back to her small apartment. There wasn't much left. A few books, her teaching certificates, a framed photo of me as a child. On her desk was a little box. Inside it was a letter I'd written her when I was 10. It said, I love you, Mom. When I grow up, I'll buy you a big house. She had kept it all these years. That day, I realized something I wish I'd known sooner. Love doesn't always speak softly. Sometimes, it sacrifices in silence. I don't hate my mother anymore. Now, I talk to her when I cook, when I pray, when I watch my daughter sleep. One night, Lila asked, Mama, what kind of grandma was she? I smiled and said, the kind who loved deeply. Just not loudly. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more calm, emotional stories about family, forgiveness, and finding peace. Because sometimes, one phone call can change everything.